Almost every team has at least one dominant personality type. Someone who is motivated by winning, competition, achieving results. Dominant personalities are often seen as commanding and confident. Those characteristics, though, they have a flip side and they can sometimes become aggressive, very stubborn, and maybe overly direct. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Say hello in the chat if you are here live. I see we have a few of you joining already. Hello. Let's see, Carlos in Honduras, uh, Marquita in Minneapolis, Jennifer in St. Pete, Florida. Great to have you here. If you are joining live, say hello. Let us know where you are watching from in the chat. Now, if you are newer to my content here, I am Melody Wilding. I'm an executive coach. I'm author of a book called Trust Yourself. Stop overthinking and channel your emotions for success at work. And I'm also the creator of Resilient, which is my signature program, a first of its kind comprehensive program to help sensitive leaders and high achievers, people I call sensitive strivers, to help sensitive strivers regain their confidence, master their emotions, and reach their full potential at work. And now's a really exciting time because not only is Resilient open for early enrollment, actually, early enrollment ends tomorrow. So ends within 24 hours. So space in this program is extremely limited. We have the spots filling up. I only run the program once or twice a year. And this year, I'm not even sure yet when I'm going to run it again because I'm working on finishing my second book. So if you are at all interested, the QR code is here on the screen. All you have to do is take out your phone, open the camera app, and it will pull up the link to head to the page with more details. You can also head to melodywilding.com/resilient. And again, the $500 off discount expires within 24 hours. So if you want to join us for Resilient, if you want to work on regaining your confidence, mastering your emotions, getting out of your own way in 2024, then head to that QR code here on the screen or melodywilding.com/resilient. You deserve to stop taking things so personally at work, to speak up more, to reclaim your precious time. And that's exactly what we focus on inside Resilient. As I said, it is the only program of its kind designed to help you as a sensitive striver, a deep thinking and feeling high performer, to help you regain your confidence. I've been running this program now for going on 4 years, and it has helped hundreds of sensitive strivers go from feeling crippled by self doubt, consumed by overthinking, exhausted from overextending themselves, to feeling self assured, grounded, like they feel comfortable in their own skin for the first time in their lives. And that's not my words, that is what our alumni have told us. And what makes this program so powerful and so unique is the combination of a really customized curriculum, live coaching elements, and a high level community. So, over the course of those 90 days in the program, we take you through a very thoughtfully, carefully crafted curriculum that focuses on 3 pillars. Number one is foundations for resilience, where we focus on helping you gain control over the unhelpful, unproductive thoughts that cause you to overthink and to overwork. We also talk about how to manage your emotions more effectively, help you build emotional strength, and manage your energy. In pillar two, we talk about cultivating confidence. You get practical ways to tackle imposter syndrome, to shift your self talk, to be more constructive and empowering. You'll learn how to make better decisions faster, how to trust your judgment, how to set boundaries, say no, regain work life balance. And then finally, in pillar three, self and team leadership, we talk about things like how to stop taking feedback so personally, how to become more assertive, and how to build a presence that commands respect from others. Each of the lessons is very concise. It's packed with concrete strategies that you can put into practice right away. We really care about implementation and action taking. But what's at the heart of Resilient is the weekly coaching, which our alumni say is really life changing. That is where the magic happens. You get direct access to me. I am the main primary coach in the program, as well as my co coach, Wendy Carey. We're there to help you tackle the challenges that you're facing. On Tuesdays, we have live office hours where you can get real-time coaching, whether it's speaking up, articulating your viewpoint, which we'll talk more about in just a moment. Dealing with people who have different, more dominant personalities than you is a big topic that comes up all the time. And on Thursdays, we have our 90-minute group calls where we are having more in-depth discussion on the weekly lessons. And between our calls, you're fully supported too. You not only benefit from my and my team's guidance, but you have the support of a brain trust of other sensitive strivers. And there's so much more. We mail a comprehensive workbook to your door. You get access to my proprietary digital Strive assessment so you can track your progress throughout the program. You get access to my beloved coaching tools library, which is dozens of scripts, templates, exercises. Again, the spots are going fast, so use that QR code here on the screen. I see a lot of you are already clicking to learn more. All you have to do is open your phone, head to the camera app. And as I said, time is of the essence because that early bird discount, the $500 off discount, expires tomorrow. So 24 hours left. All right, let me say hello to some of you here in the chat. Ken, great to have you. Richard, Ravati, let's see, Christy, Nazik, Mara, great to see you here. Irene, great to have you. If you're just joining live, say hello in the chat. Let us know where you are watching from today. Now, we are here to discuss a major challenge that sensitive strivers have when they come into Resilient, which is how do I hold my own with a more dominant personality? Let's talk about what we mean by a dominant personality. This is someone who typically exudes confidence, perhaps to the point of being aggressive. They are often the people that are leading conversations, they are making decisions, they are driving projects forward. But there's more nuance to this than just being the loudest person in the room. So let's go a little deeper into the characteristics of people who have dominant personalities so you can identify them more easily. So the first is confidence. They usually have a high level of self-belief. These people are usually not afraid to voice their opinions, even if it's different than everybody else's. They're not afraid to make decisions, take charge of situations. That goes hand in hand with the second characteristic of dominant personalities, is that they are often assertive. They advocate strongly for their ideas. And sometimes because of that, they can come off as pushy or even forceful. They're also decisive. They tend to make decisions quickly. They're less likely to waver, to show uncertainty. Their decisiveness can be a strength, particularly when you're in a very fast-paced or you're in a high-pressure environment or situation. Dominant personalities are usually very control-oriented. They like to maintain control over a situation, a project, the team dynamics. They may take the lead in a meeting. They may be the one wanting to direct the course of a project. They're very competitive. They may seem very goal-oriented. They're driven to achieve. They enjoy challenges or situations where they can win or they have the opportunity to excel. Dominant personalities, generally speaking, also tend to be less receptive to feedback. Sometimes they may not be as open to hearing alternate viewpoints, especially if it challenges their idea or their authority. And they also tend to have a commanding presence, which can often be felt even in their body language, the way they speak, how they conduct themselves in a meeting or a discussion. So, as I'm going along, I also want to encourage you to share in the chat what is resonating with you, what is standing out to you. Also, add your own thoughts. What characteristics have you seen from the dominant personalities that you tend to work with? All right, let me check in with the chat here. Monica in Athens, great to have you. Nisha, great to see you here. Florida. Khalid, someone was saying you can usually meet these types of personalities in customer service. Irina says, hello from North Macedonia. Great to have you here. Excellent. So, how else can you spot this type of dominant personality? Well, observe, watch how someone interacts with other people. Dominant personalities often take the lead in conversations. They may sometimes interrupt or talk over other people. Look at their decision-making patterns. Notice how they operate or how they navigate making a decision. Are they very quick to decide? Do they often move ahead without seeking much input from other people? How do they react to challenges? How do they react when things don't go their way? A dominant personality may become even more assertive or more confrontational when that happens. Look at their leadership style. Do they delegate and empower, or do they tend to err on the side of micromanaging and insisting that they have the final say in most decisions? Feedback. Pay attention to how they respond to feedback or criticism. Do they willingly consider other perspectives, or do they dismiss, they overpower differing opinions? So I want to drive this home with a story. I want to tell you about Gabe, whose name I have changed, but let's call him Gabe. And he was a business development manager at a food and beverage company. And Gabe was someone who was always seen as a doer. He was outgoing. He was always up for a challenge. He never hesitated. He took fast action to drive new sales. He had a demanding style, and that all came at a cost. Gabe would often upset the leadership when he would go around certain policies in order to push through new procedures. He also tended to really get fixated on sales targets and beating out the competition, to sometimes the detriment of his relationships. Now, I'm sure many of you are here because you've worked with someone like Gabe, and you know that it can be a challenge, especially if you are on the opposite end of the personality spectrum, which many of my clients who, as sensitive strivers, generally speaking, tend to be more reserved, empathetic, people and process oriented people. And because of that, sensitive strivers tend to struggle the most when dealing with dominant personalities. They find the dominant personalities, whether it's their colleague, their manager, they find them controlling, hard to deal with. And, as someone who tends to be more sensitive, you may find you have trouble standing your ground in the face of the dominant person's strong style and will. So why is this though? Now, again, as a coach for over 10 years now, I have been working with sensitive strivers, people who are deep thinkers, deep feelers, but also high performers. And I've seen firsthand how dominant personalities really pose some unique challenges for sensitive strivers who tend to be more emotionally aware, who tend to be more thoughtful in their approach. So there tends to be a clash of communication styles. Sensitive strivers tend to communicate in a more reflective, slower, more detailed, considerate manner. They think before they speak. They value collaboration, other people's input, asking questions. The dominant personality, on the other hand, tends to be more direct, more aggressive in their communication. And that difference, and I'm using the word difference intentionally here, that difference can lead a sensitive striver to feel like they're being overpowered or they're not heard. Second, the pace of decision making. As a sensitive striver, you probably prefer taking your time to process information, to consider different angles and perspectives before you make a choice. But dominant personalities, as I mentioned, they move quickly. They make quick decisions. They may see the sensitive striver's need for reflection as hesitance, indecision, a lack of confidence, which can be very frustrating when you're someone who just wants to be thorough and values depth. Let me know if this is resonating in the chat here. Yeah, Carrie was saying, Carrie from San Diego, thanks for joining. She was saying, interrupting and talking over is what I've experienced from a dominant personality. Exactly. The need for acknowledgement is another key difference. That sensitive strivers often thrive on acknowledgement, validation that they're doing a good job. They want to feel like their ideas are meaningful. A dominant personality tends to be more focused on results and outcomes and less on giving praise, which may not provide the type of recognition and warmth that a sensitive striver finds motivating or that they really deeply crave. Managing conflict is another area where there tends to be tension. Sensitive strivers tend to veer away from conflict. They prefer handling disagreements, if they do handle them. They prefer handling them in a calm and a diplomatic way. But dominant people might approach conflict more head on and more confrontationally. So that can leave the sensitive striver feeling very intimidated, overwhelmed. Emotional reactions. When you are someone with higher empathy and emotional responsiveness, you can be deeply affected by the moods and the attitudes of other people. And the intense, high nature, or high energy rather, nature of a dominant personality can be very emotionally taxing, which may leave you more at risk for stress or for burnout. Sensitive strivers are usually creative thinkers. Dominant personalities tend to have strong opinions. They have a big presence. They may inadvertently dominate the discussion, leaving little room for you as a sensitive striver to contribute. And then last is that balancing of assertiveness and sensitivity. So one of the most surprising aspects of how sensitive strivers can perceive their own sensitivity as a weakness is when they are dealing with dominant people. The challenge is to reframe this and just to see it as a difference, that your empathy, your thoughtfulness, your reflective nature are not a weakness. They are a strength and they actually complement this personality type. Now, working with dominant personalities requires you as a sensitive striver to navigate a lot of complexities here. And I wanted to share these nuances and these key differences for you because that awareness is always the first step. So if this is sounding familiar, then you may find yourself wondering why your dominant colleagues do this, do that. Why don't they do this or that? And you may be wondering, how in the world do I find peace working with them? Because everything they do makes me stressed out, annoys me, goes against my values. So the good news here is that you don't have to give up being kind-hearted and caring if that is your natural disposition. But if you want to be successful in your work and in your career, then you have to learn how to work with personalities that are different from you. And that includes dominant types. So this is exactly what we do inside of Resilient. Now, again, that QR code is here on the screen. I love seeing so many of you click through to check it out. But remember that early bird discount of $500 off ends tomorrow, 24 hours left. Now, through our curriculum, the weekly coaching, the high-level supportive community, we help you stop overthinking these interactions. We help you get the tools to manage your own emotions so you can stay calm, present, grounded, even with people who may trigger you. You'll learn how to not people please so much, how to stand up for your preferences, advocate for what you and your team need. Setting healthy boundaries is key. We work on identifying what those are, what it looks like, how to communicate them in a respectful but firm way. We also talk about developing presence. And presence is so much more than just being confident and being the loudest voice in the room. It's about conveying competence, having poise, being authentic. And emotion regulation is a big part of this. So, we teach you ways to manage your intense emotional responses, particularly in high pressure situations or when you're dealing with these challenging personalities. So, again, if you are at all interested, I want to invite you to check out the details. That QR code is here on the screen. The spots are very limited, and that early bird rate of $500 off ends tomorrow. Okay, before we dive into the tips, okay, let's see. Deborah was saying, I don't see the QR code. Deborah, you can also head to melodywilding.com/resilient. Let me answer some of the questions here. Sarah was asking, can you be a mix of both personalities? I find I read the room and sometimes I might be more dominant in conversations, but when there are other dominant people, I might step back and be more reflective and hold back my opinion. Absolutely. Sarah, all of this is contextual. All of us tend to have one one more dominant style, one style that tends to be what we fall into the most. But actually, one of my big beliefs and something I talk about a lot inside of Resilient is the fact that I really believe a hallmark of success and emotional maturity is being able to be flexible with your reactions. So that means not just rigidly sticking to your one style, but as you said, being able to read the room and discern in a healthy way, how might I need to adapt or tweak my style in order to achieve my goals here? So, just to give you an example, there are certain situations that you may face at work where a dominant style is more productive, is what is needed. I was talking to a client earlier today who was having an issue with one of their direct reports. As a sensitive striver, her style tends to be more exploring and asking questions of the person and more so listening. But we were talking about how in this situation, that's actually going to lead the conversation to get off track. And that actually she needs to be much more direct and assertive to set expectations and boundaries with this person because that's what's needed. So, Sarah, the short answer to your question is yes, you can be more than one you can be a mixture of different communication styles, and that actually having that sort of flexibility and awareness of which one you are using when is actually a great skill to have. Um, Carlos was saying a great comparison to the dominant personality would be a gorilla loose in a china shop. They don't care what they break as long as they do things their way, full speed ahead, no matter the trail of wreckage behind them. That is definitely true in some cases. Carrie was saying something I've noticed in dominant personalities is the need to prove how intelligent they are in meetings. They summarize statements to prove their intelligence. Yes, I would say that's part of the competitive thread. And Debbie was saying, "Wow, I needed this 22 years ago." So glad, Debbie. It's helpful. Let's see. Carlos was saying maybe we shouldn't have to learn how to navigate around the dominant personalities. Maybe they should learn to handle their own personality. Carlos, I would agree with you. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, the only thing you can control is yourself. And so that's what I am hoping to do today. I am not at all advocating that you should change who you are, but I want to give you, and that's what we'll dive into next. I want to give you some tips and strategies so that you can hold your own. You can show up with more strength with these dominant personalities so that you feel proud and secure with how you're communicating with them and you're more likely to get the results you're looking for. So let's dive into that. The first tip, and someone helped me out by writing this in the chat. The first tip is focusing on the what, not focusing on the how. Focusing on the what, not on the how, is a vital communication strategy when dealing with this type of personality, especially if you are a sensitive striver who tends to gravitate towards talking about processes, background, possibilities. The dominant person is much more task oriented. They care about outcomes and goals, not how you got there. They value efficiency. They are often more interested in the end result. And their preference for focusing on the what, which in this case I'm defining as the outcome or the goal, over the how, which means the method or the process by which you got there, is key in communicating with them, helping navigate decision making. When speaking with them, focus on concrete, tangible facts. Make direct assertions or suggestions rather than approaching conversations as a brainstorming session. Talk about how your idea or your proposal affects the bottom line. How is it going to lead you towards a certain expected result? So by doing this, you're talking their language. And that alignment, meeting them where they are, makes it more likely that your ideas will be heard and considered seriously. Okay, thank you so many of you for typing that in the chat, focusing on the what, not focusing on the how. Dominant personalities often prefer that sort of straightforward, no nonsense communication. So getting straight to the point, we'll get to that in a second, can prevent the frustration and misunderstanding that comes about when, if you go into a lot of background, a lot of context, the person might feel like you're giving them a roundabout answer. And they're thinking, well, just get to the point. So again, discuss tangible outcomes that can help you establish credibility in the eyes of that type of personality. Okay, so that was tip number 1, focus on the what, not the how. Tip number 2, and help me out by writing this in the chat again. Tip number 2 is to skip the small talk. Skip the small talk. Now, these type of people, they tend to operate with a lot of urgency. They appreciate efficiency. They are the type of colleagues where it is okay to skip some of the warm pleasantries and just get straight to the point. So you can skip things like, how are you? How was your weekend? I hope you're doing well, especially via email. You can just jump right into what you are trying to say. You can jump more directly into the meeting agenda. You can keep all of that banter to a minimum. And like I said, specifically with your emails, a brief introduction like, hi name, hope you're well. For instance, I'm writing to discuss XYZ, right? Just get into what you are trying to say. Don't waste time rehashing events, repeating details, building up to your point. Lead with your key message, cut to the chase. So by skipping some of that small talk, again, it can feel unnatural for us as sensitive strivers because we tend to be warm people, but you're showing respect for their time and understanding for their preference for efficiency. It also enhances your credibility in their eyes. Again, jumping straight into the matter at hand shows you have confidence, you're prepared, you're serious about the subject matter, you value the core of the discussion. So again, as a sensitive striver, trust me, I know this can be hard. It can be really challenging to adjust to being more direct in your style, but it can also be very empowering. It's also about striking a balance, maintaining your natural empathy and what feels true and good to you, while respecting or appealing to other people's preferences for brevity, for directness. All right, tip number 3, help me out by writing this in the chat. Claire, thank you so much for helping share the notes with everyone here. Tip number 3, give them independence. To influence a dominant personality type, you have to understand what motivates them. They care about achievement, control. The more you give this person room for independent problem solving, decision making, the more effective they'll be. So allowing them autonomy caters to that desire for control and achievement. It's showing you trust in their abilities. It acknowledges that they can lead and they can make decision on their own. And often when you do this, they become more productive. They feel more satisfied with their work, makes everything more harmonious and happier for everyone. And by defining areas of authority, giving them independence, you can avoid some of those annoying pitfalls of micromanagement, them being involved in every little thing. And since dominant types tend to really like autonomy and many times working just completely solo, do not be surprised if your one on ones are brief or they are non existent. Before you delegate to this type of person, make sure the areas of authority are very clearly defined and they are articulated. These people also tend to like to focus on bold ideas. They like to feel like they're working on something that has impact and that matters. Again, going back to that results orientation. Tip number 4, thoughtfully highlight areas for improvement. Thoughtfully highlight areas for improvement. So when you are giving this type of person feedback about their performance, focus on how the behavior change that you're requesting will help them reach their goals and will help them get better results. So for example, a few minutes ago, I talked about that story of Gabe. And one of Gabe's colleagues ended up pointing out to him how his bluntness was actually negatively impacting one of his direct reports. And the colleague shared that if this team member leaves, it means you, Gabe, have fewer resources to fulfill the sales you have. And therefore, if that happens, you're at risk of falling short of your targets. And that framing was helpful to actually getting Gabe to make a change. Again, speaking his language. You can also use comparison as a way to constructively motivate a dominant type. So you may highlight competitors who are performing better or doing something new as a way to sort of energize that person to improve. All right, I have, let's see, a few more tips for you. As I'm going along, what is resonating with you? What is standing out for you the most? Someone was saying, I work daily with German customers. They are usually direct in communication and require efficiency. They don't like communication. That's a great point because, yes, culture and socialization, all of that plays a big role in our communication styles. And some cultures are much more direct versus others. So that is absolutely the case. All right, our next tip is to fill in their gaps. Healthy, productive teams require a mix of personalities. When there is diversity, everyone is better for it. So if you are working alongside someone who is a dominant type, be their foil. Your natural tendencies as a sensitive striver to be more reflective, detail-oriented, empathetic, all of that complements them. They're often very fast-paced, big picture focus. They like to set ambitious goals. They push forward quickly, but that can lead to overlooking details or even risks sometimes. So that's a great place where your strengths as a sensitive striver come into play. You can offer a more balanced perspective. You can use that inclination you have to carefully plan and analyze the situation to bring more balance to decision making. So let's say, for example, your dominant colleague proposes some new, very aggressive strategy. You may contribute to that by highlighting potential risks. You may offer a more measured or incremental approach, for example. Our last tip, perhaps the most important one, is do not take their actions personally. Don't take their actions personally. This is one of the toughest, but it's probably also the most important. Dominant personality types may respond curtly. Remember that them being brisk does not mean necessarily that they are angry, they are upset, they are rejecting you. If they ask pointed questions, it's actually because they are trying to engage you, not because they don't trust you. Expect that they will be brief in their interactions. Understand that that is part of their normal pattern of behavior. It is not a reflection of you. It does not make you inadequate. So, if everything we talked about today resonated with you, then you need to get over to resilient. That is my signature 3-month group coaching program for sensitive strivers like you. As I said, it is the only program of its kind that teaches you how to be more successful without so much stress as a sensitive striver. We go so much deeper on things we talked about today, whether that's how to stop taking things personally, build a thicker skin, speak up and advocate for yourself, set boundaries, and so much more. Now, again, that QR code is here on the screen. You can take out your phone, go to the camera app, and you'll be brought to the page. And the QR code is in the upper, let's see if I'm watching it. It is in the upper corner of the screen. I'm going to get my directions messed up because it's opposite to me. Now, our alumni in Resilient, they've achieved amazing things. We are so proud of them every time, whether it's external results, skip level promotions, 6-figure bonuses. We've even had people win public office, which is really exciting. But what's even more important and profound is their inner transformations, how people in their life see how much happier, lighter, more optimistic they are. And the best part is you can feel this in yourself too. You can feel safe disconnecting from work. You can allow yourself to rest, to have an identity beyond the office. You can have more focus, more energy. You can have a sense of freedom to not be people pleasing all the time. And that confidence will impact every area of your life, whether that is you being more present with your family, having hobbies again, taking a vacation or time off, and actually unplugging. Because the changes that you create in yourself have a ripple effect. And I know that you're here because as a sensitive striver, you care about doing good work. You care about making an impact. And so if all of this resonated with you, then make sure you join us and you check out at least Resilient. As I said, the early bird rate is only available until tomorrow. After that, the price goes up, and I do not know if any more spots will be available. So you can head to that QR code on the screen here. You can also head to melodywilding.com/resilient. All right. As we are closing up here, please share what has resonated with you in the comments. I would love to hear, and I'll be checking in on those. So please leave those here. And that's all for now, everyone. We will talk very soon. Take care of yourselves and have a great week, everybody.